Why do I believe the Bible? So this is a very interesting question because we have a whole lot of other religions out there like evolution, Islam.
See, there's Jeremiah.
Man, I wanted to pull over and like see the ark.
Yeah,
Oh, there
get on it. Oh my gosh, you can see it. Look, everybody. Ahoy! Wait, do you see land?
That's the Ark. So here's the slideshow. I say my religion because I would argue that it's not necessarily religion. If there's a king and you bow down to that king, would that be religion? Okay, guys, happy to see you here. Today we are talking about anger. All the emotions in general, but I particularly want to talk about anger. So who's with me?
I don't want
Everybody
to
know what
talk
anger
about
is?
anger. Just kidding.
I'm so angry at Ryan right now.
I don't want to talk about anger.
I
Okay.
don't want to talk about anger.
Ryan, are you there to defend for yourself?
I'm not angry. Do I look angry?
I will say that I got angry this morning when I saw something that really upset me.
That was?
Can I tell you what it is?
Go ahead.
There's a place on my route. I've taken a lot of pictures there where it's very pristine and very woodsy, very, the deer like to hang out there. There's just a handful of houses and it's very beautiful, very pristine and very peaceful. And I saw a survey crew out there and I saw them putting ribbons around trees. And you know what that means? You know what the next thing to come is? Next, the bulldozers are coming. And I'm like, no, don't you cut down my woods and throw up more houses. So that made me a little angry, but you know, that's all right. We'll deal with it.
I think that's a different form of anger. It's righteous.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm going to chain myself to a tree if I have to. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But every customer that I talk to about it, they all were like, oh, no, we don't want that. But what can you do? What can you do?
Aye. Okay, let me see if I got this right. So I guess my first question for you guys would be, just to make sure we're all on the same page, is does anybody know the purpose of emotion?
The purpose of emotion.
The purpose of emotion. Because for the longest time, I used to think that emotion was 100% and utterly useless. That it just got in the way for the longest time. And I had to realize that I was wrong. So what is the purpose of emotion? Anybody got an idea?
Well, I agree with you on the realization that you were wrong. I agree with that. We have them for a reason. They're not just there to confuse. We get confused by them, of course, but to answer your question, I will just say that I see no purpose of living if there was no emotion. And I don't mean falling in love, the only emotion that exists. But if you don't carry emotions, for me, you are kind of dead.
Well, for the longest time, I had virtually no emotion. So thank you. That means a lot to me.
I'm an INFP, according to the MBTI. I'm the most emotional type of the 16 types. So for me, the emotion discussion is very like I'm ready to go to war.
Yeah, and I'm one of the least emotional. At least I was a while ago. Actually, I'm finding out that I'm probably one of the most emotional people, and that is a full testimony for itself. But to keep it focused on the topic, have you ever watched the movie Inside Out?
Nope.
Do you know what the movie Inside Out's about, generally?
Nope.
Okay, well, let me run you through it real quick.
Yeah.
Basically, it goes through a prepubescent teenager, and there are these emotions in her head, and you see what her emotions do. So the emotions are like little characters that are in her head, and they have a control panel, and they pretty much control what she does. Okay?
Okay,
Make sense?
repeat. You broke. I lost you.
Am I here now?
Yes. You said I heard the first part, and then I kind of it froze here. I think I don't know what happened.
Pretty much, you have about 5 characters in your head.
Yes, I've seen trailers.
Yeah, different characters of emotion. There's a new movie coming out where she actually hits puberty and has new emotions come in. But anyway, the point is you have several different emotions. If I can remember the names of all of them, you have joy, you have anger. I'll just title it mad because I don't like to type. You have sad. You have
Mad.
Yeah, you have joy, mad, sad, disgust.
I don't know. Ask Ryan.
And you had fear.
Oh, definitely.
That's 3, 4, 5. So you had these 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am going to attempt to present share screen, windows. I want to share this window, share. You can all see my screen now, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what I do, you can only see that one tab, right?
Yeah. I don't know. No matter what you do, but
well, unless I change the settings. But if I move my screen this way, bloop, I fall off the screen. Yeah, okay. And if I move to a different tab, you guys, okay, that's great. That's exactly what I want because I don't want you getting distracted with all of my mess. I want you to see this one. Okay, so let me just rearrange this real quick. Right here, if you can see it, can you see all that? You have joy, anger, sad, disgust, and fear, right? These are the basic core of the 5 different types of emotion you can have. Any other kind of emotion comes under one of these categories.
Okay.
Make sense? Everybody agree? Is there any disagreement? Did we leave any out?
All right.
Okay. My main thing is what are the purposes of all of these? And actually the movie Inside Out, where it covers all of these, it actually goes into just a little bit of why some of these exist. Like why is such an inconvenient one like sadness there? In the entire movie, they're trying to compress sadness. They're trying to get sadness out of the room. And then sadness eventually overrides everybody. And the other characters realize sadness's purpose. But that's not quite what I'm trying to get at here. My main thing is I avoided anger. Right there, that one. Okay? I had disgust. I didn't really have too much of fear, but I still don't. And I don't really like it makes sense. It's a respectful fear of things, but I avoided anger. I figured anger particularly, anger and sadness were not necessary. And, you know, it's good to have a general surface level of joy, but don't get too excited because then you have the opposite in a few days when you can't be happy anymore. So just be at a baseline. Display joy. Obviously, refuse some things and don't kill yourself by accident. So it wasn't until recently that I figured out what the emotions were actually for. Have you ever seen the movie Hulk? Because I'm going to make a lot of pop culture references. Have you seen the movie Hulk?
Hulk.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure I've watched the latest, whatever it is, but I know the story. I've read the comics.
Have you seen this guy?
I know it, yeah.
Okay. We're going to be talking a lot about this guy. Okay? And I want to show up one more image of a Hulk you've probably not seen. And it is this one. Oh, crap. Did I do something wrong? I did something wrong. Give me a second. Okay. It's this image right here. This image is an image of Hulk wearing normal clothes, sitting in a cafeteria with his glasses, his hair done all nice, and like not that. Not that.
Yep.
And there's a reason for this. Virtually,
Yeah. Hollywood is destroying everything.
Yeah, he's not destroying everything at that point.
Hollywood. Yeah.
And you never hear about Hulk actually becoming that unless you've watched the modern Hulk movies, or like
Exactly.
The modern Marvel movies. And this is the perfect example to why anger is important. Because the entire movie, the entire story of Hulk is someone who has an anger issue. Someone who gets way too emotional in the anger department. Because he says, anytime I get angry, I become the Hulk. I start freaking out. I start throwing my temper tantrum. And he thinks he can control the Hulk. And the way he controls the Hulk is by shutting him up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's not true control. That's what I thought controlling your emotions were. That emotions were a nuisance, and the moment you could block them up in the closet and just be a good, fair representation of the rest of you, that was what having control of your emotions were. And I thought, I'm doing great at having control of my emotions. I have no sadness, I have no joy, I have no anger, I have no real fear, and I have no real disgust over anything. I am dead inside. I have control of my emotions.
I love how you said that. I am dead inside. I have perfect control of my emotions. Yeah, great quote.
Because that's what I was. I had pets that died. I'd bury them and not think anything of it. And,
Yep.
you know, my sisters would be crying because the pet that we've had since, like, our childhood grew up and, like, I wouldn't care. I believe a family member could have died. Not that I had one that did at the time, but I believe I could have had any family member die. And I would have been like, okay. I was never angry. I felt really... The only word I can really use it is like a beta. Like someone who's just so passive. You know, like I was a controversial person in thought, but like when it came to action, I didn't do anything. Anyway, here's the point that I'm trying to make. He goes from this. He then becomes very passive, human, normal, and not ever getting angry. And then he goes to this right here. He allows himself to explode every once in a while until he learns how to control Hulk to the point where at any moment he can sit down in a coffee shop as the Hulk, have a sip of tea, and then pick up an oven without even thinking about it, move it over, and do something else he wants. Because he could actually control his anger.
Okay.
Make sense? The Bible says, be angry, do not sin.
Amen.
That's what I didn't understand. I was like, don't be angry because anger is sin. No. Be angry, don't sin.
Amen.
And so what I learned is that emotion is a good thing. And I only figured this out after being married to my wife for about 2 years, is that emotion has a useful part in society. It is the
I'm very sorry, Jeremiah, but saying that I started understanding anger after being married for a couple of years. It was very funny.
No. I understood emotion.
Yeah, we know what you meant.
I still had a very much so lack of anger. I very rarely would get angry about anything. You could utterly try to destroy me, and I wouldn't be angry about it. Anyway,
I never get angry. I'm just kidding. I'm
so
kidding.
my point is that after being married for 2 years, I realized the importance of joy and sadness, disgust, fear, and at times anger. And I realized as I allowed myself to have emotion, because I used to think I was just like a psychopath, that I wasn't able to have anger. And it wasn't until someone pointed out, actually, like they just called it out. It's like, it sounds like your brain's doing a lot of gymnastics to not be angry, to not have emotion. And I actually called myself out on it. And I went back to him about a week later and I said, you know what? You're 100% right. I can have emotion. I've chosen to suppress them so much that I've convinced myself I don't have emotion. And so the main thing is, and it's not my testimony, it's about what we can do with this information, okay, is anger, specifically anger, is a superpower. All of these emotions here, they are superpowers.
Jeremiah.
But they're hard to learn and hard to control. And that's my main point in it, is that these emotions are really hard to control. It's once you get them controlled that you can then become strong. And I'll show you about why we should become angry in a moment. Ryan wanted to say something. Ryan.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan at all, but in Star Trek, the Vulcans, they had used to be very violent, very destructive people, and they would let their emotions rule them and almost destroyed their civilization. And what they did is they began the I guess the father of the modern Vulcans was named Sarek, and he developed a way that they could meditate every night before they go to bed in order to, I guess, rein in their emotions. And they had to learn, just like the Hulk. You're talking about the Hulk. The Vulcans had to learn to control their emotions in much the same way. They had to learn. They meditated. And like I said, it's a fictional show, but still, I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan at all, then you know how the Vulcans had to overcome their base instincts through meditation and that sort of thing.
Okay.
It just kind of reminded me of it.
So the next thing we got to ask, because Jesus is our role model, okay, what can we fill in as did God do these? Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
We got to ask ourselves, did God do every single one of these? Okay. So we have joy. Was God ever joyful? Was he ever happy?
I think I would say
It was.
I would say joy will has to do with the end, Revelation 20 plus, where we will be in another world. So I don't personally recall Jesus being happy in this world of Satan. I don't recall. Maybe there is a place, but I don't recall it.
So we have the thing called the Internet of all of Google. And so sometimes I like to use Google to give me answers to things. So I can say, was Jesus ever happy? Or God? Is there a moment in the Bible where Jesus or God was happy? We can just ask that into Google, and I'm sure somebody's talked about it.
Jeremiah, I do know that God has a sense of humor, and he uses humor to teach us lessons sometimes. Do you know what proof I have of that?
Us.
This right here. You see my avatar?
Oh
God,
no, it doesn't show. It doesn't show.
you don't see it?
Oh yeah, we don't see it. It's just a white circle.
Well, I see my figurine.
Yeah, it
Normally
has
we
to
do.
do.
It's not there right now.
It happens
Okay.
when you disconnect and reconnect, and it happened as you were driving. So maybe
Oh.
if you go back out and
Well,
back in, we'll see it.
You guys remember what my figurine looks like. I think that was God using humor to teach me something. A valuable lesson.
He has a sense of humor.
He definitely does.
He
Okay, Achilles.
invented it, right?
Achilles.
Yeah.
I want you to look up a verse for me. Psalms chapter 147, verse 11.
Psalms 147.
Verse 11.
The Lord delights in those who fear him, who put their hope in his unfailing love.
Okay, so the Lord delights. I would consider that another word for joy. Happy, delight, joy. He has that positive feeling.
You know what? I would say to do this study, which I love how this is going. But I think in order to do this study, I think we need to leave joy for the end, because I believe it has to do with all the joy that is being described to us in the book of Revelation about the new world that is coming, where there will be no tears, and all these will belong in the past. So I think that's where we see a lot of joy and
Okay.
rejoicing. But until then, he came down to a world where he knew where he was coming.
Yes,
And
but God being outside of time and God being Jesus, we're looking at God as a whole, not just Jesus. I just grabbed the first picture of Google.
all right, yes, okay.
We're looking at God as our role model. Okay? God has a delight. Now, it is very possible that Jesus had moments of happiness, because, I mean, it'd be kind of a downer to just always be depressed and always be upset. Like, there is a point for joy, even in a world like this. And I know we can't know for 100% fact if the Bible doesn't specifically mention it, but like,
Yeah, well, in the moments where he made wine out of water, or when he created all the food, the fish and the bread for everyone, there were moments there where he wasn't being sad about the world, right? But they're not like reported. They ate, they drank, maybe not alcoholic, which is a big debate, and I agree that the wine that he made was non-alcoholic wine. But
Hello.
oh, what? Okay, no, I thought somebody popped in and it sounded like a wake. Um, and they're just yeah, they are there between the lines, you know.
yeah. So look up John chapter 11, verse 15.
John 11:15.
Yes.
So then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him.
So he was glad that he had an opportunity to show God's glory.
Okay.
I know that kind of sounds really weird. It's like, Lazarus is dead. I'm glad. But, like,
but I'll go with it.
I'm just saying, I just Googled, is there a moment in the Bible where Jesus is happy? And it said, look up this verse. So I looked it up, and he is happy that he gets the chance to show God, to show God's power. So it states right there that he's glad. So I'll put down that he was happy to show God, well, God's power. That they might believe. So I imagine the other time he'd be happy is if someone gets saved. If someone believes upon Christ, I imagine he'd be happy for that, because he's happy when someone he's happy when he gets to show God's power that someone might believe. Not just to brag, but when someone might believe. And so he's probably also happy when someone gives their life to God, and there's this party in heaven. I imagine he's part of that. But we know there's a verse where he was glad that he got to show God's power.
And I'll share this. Luke 15:10. In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents, which is exactly what you mentioned. That's where there is joy.
Okay, so God rejoices. He's glad. I know it mentions it there too, but it's the first one I thought of. It's the first one I put down. Now, anger, right? So we know God approves of joy. Good job. We know he approves of joy. He had it. He demonstrated it. Anger. Does God demonstrate anger?
Oh, that's a lot of verses.
A lot of verses.
Yeah, right.
God waxes hot. He throws tables in the temple.
Yeah, and wherever there was a discussion with the Pharisees, he shows that anger. I think the most important verse about this is the one you mentioned at the beginning. Be angry, yet do not sin.
Yeah.
You cannot not be angry with what is happening in the world. You will be dead. You will be emotionally dead if you're not angry with what's happening.
Can I offer my thoughts on what that verse means, be angry and sin not?
Yeah.
I think that it says there are certain things that you can get angry about and it's not sinful. For instance, if an injustice like child abuse, rape, that kind of thing, you hear about somebody being hurt, and that should anger you.
Amen,
But
brother.
you shouldn't get angry for selfish reasons. Oh, this
Right.
person did this to me. This person did that to me. I think that is the kind of anger that God is not.
That's exactly it.
I would also say it refers to actions. Be angry and be active about it, but don't sin in those actions either.
Right.
Because God Jesus throws the tables and he makes a whip and he like starts, beating the crap out of the temple. And, he starts yelling at people. And he even threw insults at one point in his life. But the thing is, he didn't sin. See, a lot of us, we get angry and we start hurting people just because. We start doing things that are wrong. God was angry and did not sin. He was active about it. He actually acted upon his anger, but didn't sin. He had to sit there and make a whip.
Well,
he had time to think about it too. He sat there fuming. I imagine him, glaring, and he's making a whip. He's tying it together. He's making those, braids or knots or whatever he's doing, and he's making that whip. And the disciples are like, "Oh no, what's he gonna do?"
Nailed it. I agree 100%. And I want to point out that we keep saying that God's name is love. We are forgetting his other name. He has another characteristic, wrath. So when it comes to what Ryan just pointed out, you cannot be emotionless when it comes to injustice. God is not emotionless when it comes to injustice. He's furious with injustice. But do not sin. It's very important. We must be angry about what's happening. But if we are about to act upon it, we shouldn't burden our own soul and go to hell because we got mad. Right?
Yeah. So now here's the thing, sadness. Was God ever sad?
Yes.
Other than
breathe the Holy Spirit. I do know that.
And he wept.
Yeah. Jesus wept.
John chapter 11, verse 35, I believe.
Shortest verse in the Bible. Yeah, Jesus was moved to tears because he saw all the people around him grieving. Even though he knew what he was about to do, he was still moved by their sadness and their grief.
Well, and death isn't natural. He's probably sad that the person had to die in the first place.
Right. Yes.
Now, so we got so far approval on joy, anger, and sadness. Disgust. I know this. I think it's in Deuteronomy. He says it's an abomination to be part of the alphabet gang. It's not his words, but you get my point.
Yes.
An abomination means that it makes you kind of like, you feel sick, you want to throw up.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, that's bad. It's like, this is utterly wrong for you.
Well, the things I used to do. I feel that way, but
Yeah, Ryan, just know you made God feel sick.
you know what? I probably did, and it makes me very sad to know that.
But hey, you
And
know
I don't
what?
ever want to make him feel that way. What?
You've been saved by
So
Christ,
do a lot
and
of
that brings him joy.
You
yes.
guys,
I want to bring him joy from now
you didn't notice, because I don't know what happened. My browser crashed when I opened a Bible Hub website, but my avatar didn't leave the room, so I had to come back in with a new browser and kick myself out so I don't get echo. And I don't know what happened with Bible Hub. It's either Bible Hub or me playing around with my memory. But anyway, mem test seemed to be all right. I didn't get any errors there, but yeah, glad to be back.
I knew that arrow would not wait on me. I knew it wouldn't wait. Sorry,
The
I'm
what?
driving. I'm coming up to a green turn signal, turn arrow, and I knew it wouldn't wait on me. It turned red before I could get to it. It's all right. I'm in no hurry. I want to go to
You
my
never
daughter's house.
know what was ahead, my brother. God knows
That's
more than
true.
we do.
God may
Trust.
have turned it red to keep me from getting into a wreck or something. So
Yeah,
that's the way I'm look
yeah.
at it.
Oh, how did I miss this cast? Okay. What? God does not like the ABC group. What is this? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that what somebody in the chat?
No, 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 no. What Jeremiah is writing on the presentation here. God does not like the alphabet
Well, he
group.
doesn't like what they do.
Yeah, he still loves them. They are
Yeah,
his children and lost children.
they're just deceived.
I didn't want to
Like
say hate because I wasn't exactly sure on the scripture about that, but I know that it brings him an abomination. Like it
Yeah.
makes him feel like an abomination, and abominations to be like sick.
Yes.
yeah.
So I just left it at God does not like the ABC group. So
Right,
Yeah.
I got you.
I don't like typing fancy words. I'm not the greatest at spelling, so I keep it pretty simple.
You know, you had a question last night, Jeremiah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And it caused me to wonder something. You said you didn't know what anti-Semitic means, and it means basically anti-Jewish. But the only time I've ever heard the word Semitic ever used was in the term anti-Semitic. I've never heard anybody say pro-Semitic. I've never heard anybody just
Well,
simply
just say
say Semitic.
pro-Jew.
Right. I
Okay.
don't under. I don't.
Well, Ryan, we got to stay on topic.
All right.
Topic.
All right.
We have viewers who want to watch the show, and I hate getting way too distracted. Thank you so much.
Okay.
My wife just got me food. Anything you want? Here, give me a second. Give me 1 second.
But I do think, even though you were about to drag him off topic, I do think that now that we are stepping into the fear part, that's the only emotion that doesn't exist in God, and it didn't exist
Yes.
in Jesus.
Perfect love casteth out fear.
Amen. Amen. There is no fear once. Okay, let's not ruin it. Okay, hey, well, welcome back, Jeremiah.
Okay, so I heard what you're saying, and I don't know if I disagree, but I want to do some healthy research into this. So there's one time I can think of where God, he may have not been like super emotionally afraid, but he had that respectful fear.
Take that wine.
So like the Bible did say something about this. It says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And that's my first clue that fear is healthy. God also gave us fear. Why would he give us fear for no purpose? Now, there's the other argument of always be afraid, and that's not right. I mean, it's like God gave us sex drive. There's a purpose for it. Now, you can go off the deep end and be bad about it, or you can use it in a healthy way. I imagine fear is the same way, because God specifically says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So, did God have fear? Like, did Jesus have fear over the Lord? Was he respectful in that respectful fear? Maybe. We don't know, but the one time I could think that Jesus may have had A respectful fear is when he was in the garden and he was praying and he was so stressed out, he started sweating blood. Now, he wasn't being skittish. He wasn't, the classic afraid that we all think of. But the thing is, the sweat of the brow, that blood sweat, comes when you are so stressed out. His body was very likely afraid of death. The pain that was going to come. Not the death in the afterlife part. Well, maybe because we don't exactly know where he went. It's another study for another day. But the thing is, that's going to be a lot of pain on his body. That's a lot of stress he's anticipating. And we know in the Bible it says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and Jesus was a very wise person. So if he had fear of the Lord, then that would be fear. I think we get the wrong idea of fear. I think we have a negative connotation. Just like we had a negative connotation of anger, I think we have a negative connotation of fear.
Agreed.
Yeah. When Jesus was praying in the garden, he had the weight of humanity on him. I mean, it's something we cannot even fathom. The emotional weight that was weighing him down while he was praying there in the garden. We can't fathom what he was going through. We just can't. And so, drops of blood. I mean, that's to be expected. The amount of stress he was under.
Yeah. Even that we can't fathom.
Right.
Go ahead.
As you can see right here, we have Jesus displaying every type of emotion that you can have. Joy, anger, sadness, disgust, fear. Jesus had all of the powers. He had the Infinity Stones, if you will. You can tell I watched way too much Marvel. He had the 5 Infinity Stones, and he used all of these well. There's a time to rejoice, a time to weep. There's a time for all of these, and he used them. And that's my point, is now that we know there is a God, who God is, that the Bible is legitimate, now we can start taking the Bible and start learning how to be better Christians, better people, better businessmen, better, in a walk of life. Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. And the thing is, right here, you can see in joy, anger, sadness, disgust, and fear, God, in the Jesus form, demonstrated all of these. And he didn't just suppress them. It wasn't, I have so much control of my emotion that I don't really express them. It's, no, I have enough control of my emotion that I can be the big green Hulk sitting down and sipping some tea.
Mm-hmm.
I can communicate to myself that much. So now let's go over an example of every single one of these in real life. Because some of these are simple, some of these, make sense, but other ones might be harder. Okay? So let's go to joy real quick. We got joy again. Why did God create joy? What is a good example of the reason for God creating joy?
That's just this feeling of, I belong to Jesus and he is the source of my joy. I have joy because I know that my future is secure in him. I'm not afraid of dying. When I die, I'm just going to go be with him. That gives me joy to know that.
You made a big mistake, Ryan.
Uh-oh.
You used the word joy in the definition of joy.
Are you trying to say that love isn't love? Just kidding. Yeah, okay. Let me find a word. Okay.
I am saying, what is joy beneficial of? If you say, well, joy gives joy, but what do you do? I don't care. I'm saying you have this joy. You have this emotion of joy. Is it just to feel good, or does it have a purpose? To what benefit does joy give me? Is it just to make me high, or is there a purpose?
Supreme contentment, extreme contentment, knowing that you are going to be okay no matter what happens. If someone kills you, you're okay. So that is what I would say is joy. Is just supreme contentment. Achilles, you got anything?
I was about to say, Achilles, save us.
Yeah, save us, Achilles. I'm drowning, Achilles.
Again, I am one of that weird individual.
He's not gonna save me. I'm going to drown.
I'm that weird individual that got saved by reading the Book of Revelation. And
that is a weird individual.
Yeah, by understanding what the future of this world is, which comes with a little bit of a sad part, which is it's all gonna burn. But then we get a very joyful world where there will be no death, there will be no Satan, there will be no tears, there will be no sadness, because all these have perished and they belong to the previous world. So this world will not just burn physically, like forest fires. It is going to take away all the tears, all the sadness, death itself, because they all belong to the falling of man, and that part will be done. So that joy, reading from Revelation 20 on, transformed me. That's what completely changed the way I saw this world. So for me, to joy, I would add Revelation 20, 21, 22. Like, we can go ahead and read it right now. There are also a lot of psalms of describing the joy and of delighting in the Lord.
Yeah, so we have all of it, but what's it for?
What's it for?
What is joy for?
I love this philosophical depth because it's deep, and I love to swim, so I don't have an answer. I can come up with thinking that we would have nothing to live for if there weren't for joy.
I think joy.
It is important.
I think joy is the motivation or the reward to doing good things. And I'm not saying happiness, because when people seek for happiness and stuff, they destroy themselves. But like with joy and rejoicing and being glad, notice it happens after you've achieved something or been successful in something, or someone's done something good. Mainly. I mean, you get the psychopaths out there who are so dark and corrupt it's messed them up. But I think the reason for joy is to be the reward system for when you do something good, and to be that motivator for you to get it again. Because people associate joy with the chemicals serotonin and dopamine. And the reason why dopamine exists is to get you to do something. If you have zero dopamine in your body, you don't even have the will to eat. You don't have the will to do anything. Your dopamine's drained, you have the will to do nothing. You just lay there. So dopamine, which is mainly where we get our happiness and joy, as far as brain chemicals go, is our motivator and our drive to do anything.
I agree.
I'd also say joy is probably one of the easiest to come by.
One of them.
As far as like being good.
I didn't hear the word.
I think joy is one of the most easy emotions to come by as a good thing. Unlike anger or sadness, where we're going to have to dig a little harder to find out what they're for.
I disagree, and I'm raising a guilty hand right here. I'm an INFP. So for me, sad is like breathing. I don't have to try. I don't have
Yeah.
to try to be sad.
Let's get there in a minute.
I'm just sad. It's the way I am. I'm all the time.
But that's the thing, is I'm not saying it's hard to come by. I'm saying it's hard to come by in a good light. Most people, they get angry, they do bad. Most people get sad, and they're sad for the wrong reasons, or do bad with their sadness. Most people, when they get happy, checkbox, you already did your good. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, the only thing I could say to my defense is that it is very easy. I can be joyful for little things. It doesn't have to be something big,
Oh, yeah.
and can take away sadness. Just a tiny
But it's
little
also,
gesture, or
it's also easy to do good with joy. It's not easy to do good with anger. It is easy to do good with joy.
yeah.
All you have to do to be good with joy is be joyful. Let's
Yeah.
move to anger. Why, and I kind of alluded this to already with the superpower and Hulk, but why is anger built into us? Why did God give us anger? What good comes from anger?
I have a lot to answer to that, so I'll just say let's have Ryan answer it. Ryan, I muted you because there was some sounds.
I know. I was
Right.
talking to the car wash attendant, and I might possibly get disconnected because I'm about to go through my car is absolutely filthy, and I just have to get it washed.
So, Ryan, we're
So-
talking about anger. What purpose does anger serve? Why did God give us the gift of anger?
Because anger motivates you to right a wrong, excuse me. If you see a wrong and you get angry about that wrong, your anger will motivate you to say, hey, we got to do something about this. This ain't, this isn't going to keep happening.
You're breaking up pretty bad, but I get your point.
Let me get done with the car wash.
Okay. I'm going to mute you again. And
Now it's up to me then. So I'll say that.
I can't mute him. Give me a second. Why isn't it letting me mute him?
Let me try. Okay, me neither.
Huh.
Ryan, confine yourself. Mute yourself, please. We can't mute you. We can remove you.
Ryan has the power to come back when Ryan has the power to come back in when he wants. What I would say is like he was saying, but just a little different. Anger, in its pure substance, just gets you to do something. And that's what I've been learning recently because, as I said, I was joyful. I would even be disgusted and fearful. But one that I really refused, I would say refused more than any other, like an arch nemesis, is anger. And I got annoyed enough that I actually allowed myself to become angry, and I allowed myself to choose to have emotion again. And I'll say this: anger lets you do so much you never thought you were able to do. Like I can only describe it as raising your testosterone if you allow yourself to be angry. I have put up with things for years where the moment I allowed myself to get angry and I snapped at people, they instantly fixed it. Because I allowed myself to get angry in a righteous way. Now, I've also had people yell at me for doing something stupid because I allowed my anger just to slip just a little too much, and someone yelled at me for it because I did something utterly wrong and I had to fix it. But anger is that thing that makes someone stand up. You have something to add?
We wouldn't be changing things at all if we weren't angry about them. If we didn't get, I don't know, because it brings up the word disgust. I'm trying to find another one so I don't confuse it with that. But anger moves things. Like, let's not go religiously here. Let's go politically. Like every change that ever happened on this earth came through anger. came through people going out on the streets and being mad about something, right?
Yeah.
So it is a very important part of civilization, I think.
Without anger, you wouldn't have had the Declaration of Independence signed
Right.
from America to England.
Right.
People had to be angry enough about the English, and I know I'm using American politics, and you're from Greece, but people had to be angry enough to say, "We will die over this. I don't care anymore." I heard a story. It was of a pastor. He said that he was at a laundromat doing his clothes, and he saw this woman and this kid, and the kid was screaming and yelling and goofing off, and the woman slammed her young son just up against the washer and dryer and said, "Shut up!" And the kid was screaming in pain, and she threw the son back in the car seat or the stroller, I forget what it was, and then left. And this pastor didn't say anything at the moment. He was just shocked that it happened. And then he tried to go and report this incident because it was clearly child abuse from what he saw. And that county didn't have anything set up for child protective services or they just didn't do anything. They're like, yeah, we don't really do stuff about that. And he got so angry actually that he went to one of the political board meetings in the county, and he brought it to attention. He talked about it. And when he left that day, he was actually elected to be one of the head members of the county, of that board. And he didn't even realize, he wasn't even going in for that. He was just angry. And over the next few months and a year or so, he changed a lot in that county. And I'm forgetting his name, but his name was very recognizable. It's an active thing that's going on. He's still in office. But anyway, my point is exactly as he said, anger triggers people to make changes. And as you can see, I think it was even Jesus God who was angry and did the flood, or would have people wiped out for different reasons. He would say, "Okay, I've had enough. I'm angry."
Yep, I agree with you 100%. It is important, and I've been attacked about anger many times in my life, but I'm talking about the anger where being mad with things that are happening in the world and with the world itself, never exploding on somebody or daring to hit somebody or act upon anger in such a manner, right?
Oh, I got to tell you something I just did recently. As I'm getting my anger on, if that makes sense. I was, so I have this, what do you call it? Someone's taking over one of my leases for me so that I don't have to pay for it. But I have very strict rules for him. One of them, because I'm doing it in such a way where he's not even taking over the entire lease. He's more or less a friend of mine. I'm doing him a favor. He's paying me most of the lease because I would have to be stuck with it anyways. And then he has a place to stay. But I gave him some very strict rules. And one of them is you can't bring people over for more than a minute or two. Just enough time to use the bathroom if they need, and then drop you off and go. They can't stay. They can't spend the night. They can't stay. There's none of that allowed whatsoever. And this guy, keep in mind, he's never seen me snap at anybody. He's never seen this. My wife has barely ever seen me snap at people. And even when I do, it's not even the strongest thing. I snap a little here or there, and I get upset. But the moment I walked in the door, I saw this one guy sleeping on the couch. It was one of the first few days. And I knew he was going to test me eventually, but I didn't realize it was going to be the second day. And I didn't know who this guy on the couch was. I had no clue, but he was asleep.
He was?
He was asleep on the couch. He was going to spend the night. There's no way he wasn't going to spend the night. Okay? It was 8 o'clock in the afternoon. It was more or less a surprise visit. I knocked on the door. He let me in. I looked over, and there's a guy sleeping on the couch. And me, before getting to my angry self, would be like, I know exactly what's going on. He's not faking it at all. But I would still ask, why is there a guy sleeping on the couch? And his excuse was, well, he just came over because he was driving us everywhere. He was tired, so he was going to take a nap. He was going to leave soon. And then I would have said, well, let's get him out of here. I don't want to see it again. But no, that's not what I did. What I did, without even thinking about it, I just knew this was the right course of action, and I am proud of myself for doing it, is I just started yelling at the top of my voice at him. Because, again, I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him before. I need him to take me serious. I ended up kicking the couch up against the wall and yelling at him, and my wife's like, okay, I've never seen this before. She goes into the other room, and he's like, what's going on? And I'm about ready to call the police. I actually hit dial on the phone, and he's like, okay, wait, what's going on? So I hang up, and I'm yelling at this guy. I'm like, get out of my house now. And he leaves. You could tell he wasn't going to take me serious until he saw that I actually had authority in the matter. And I was like, get out of the house now. I've never seen that guy again. Not only that, but the guy who's currently renting from me, because I've allowed him to keep doing it, I said, I see one more mess up and I'm kicking you out. But he actually does what I say now. I've known this guy for a few years now. He's always just said one thing and done another thing. No, he does what I say now. Because he knows that there's a different side of me he's never seen before, where if I care about it, I don't put up with it anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't want to wake up that Hulk.
And like, you could see the surprise on his face. He's never seen me do that before. He was shocked. I've never done it before. I was shaking afterward. I had adrenaline running through my veins. I'm like, whoa, I just turned on what? What did I do again? It was like becoming Hulk at will and staying in my bounds, because the moment he started complying, I dropped my voice down to a calm conversation level. And I said, sorry that I have to do this to you, but I have to be strict about my rules. And he said, I understand. So I went from screaming at him to, now that you're obeying me, let me be calm. And I did it in an instant. So it was, I'm calm. I said, hi, how you doing? Wait a minute, I got to deal with this. Bam! And then I'm like, okay, it's dealt with. Back down to here. I had anger, I executed well, and I sinned not. And I got it done quick.
Yeah, you could call it a little bit psychopathic, but I'll ignore that.
It's using your superpower. It's having control over your emotion. It's having the control to deny that anger, but it's also having the control to use that anger. So if that's psychopathic, then I want to be psychopathic. Because I can use genuine anger to get what needs to be done. Make sense?
And yeah, it does.
And that's what Jesus did. He's a very calm, mild person. Some of the time he looked over and said, wait a minute. He was calm enough to think in his head, I need to make a whip. I need a tool. Let me craft up a tool real quick. He crafts this tool. He's sitting there. He's making this tool, which takes, not just outraged Hulk, smash anger, but he's like, I have to actually think about this. He builds his whip. Because you got to remember, Jesus in his physical body can't outfight every, guard in the synagogue. In his physical strength. With a whip, though, you're talking about a different story. You're talking about you don't want to get too close to that guy. So he could keep the crowd back without even using supernatural power. Not that he didn't have it at his disposal if he needed it. Which I think later he disappears, like he just vanishes, which is a supernatural thing. Either that or he's really good at stealth.
Like a thief in the night. I think it's
he just shows up with a whip, because I imagine nobody was paying attention to him before. He just shows up, makes a scene, everyone's like, what in the world? And then they can't find him. But the thing is, it's that calm, angry, then calm. You don't hear about Jesus really ranting about it later. He's not talking about it later. He just says, I did what I did, and I moved on. Because to take out anger on one person, like let's say I'm angry at the neighbor. I don't need to take that home to my wife. I don't need to turn around and yell at my wife for the stupid thing the neighbor did. So many people in their anger, they say, I'm going to yell at everybody. And you can tell I'm kind of passionate and excited about this one because I just recently learned it and I'm wielding this new superpower. And I've already wielded it wrong a few times, but I think I've wielded it way better than I've wielded it wrong. Like if I had to make a point chart, my good use of it's up here, and my bad use of it's down here.
And another important aspect about that is that from hiding it in the closet, it's better, even if you're not good at controlling it, it's better to release it, and try your best. Your best is good enough. What's bad is hiding it in the closet, because that's when it starts growing.
Well, I think I'm actually going to get into politics soon, interestingly enough. And I'm not just talking about it on the show, but actually being active. And see, that's the thing is, so many of us, we complain. We say, oh, well, you know, they're not doing this the way I'd like. We're not doing that the way I'd like. But then they don't go to the school board and ask for the lies to be taken out of the classroom. In a whole school, okay, it's not too far from here, like 10 minutes, 20-minute drive maybe, okay? There's a school called Halls. That school has kitty litter boxes in the bathrooms for the students who identify as cats.
Oh, God.
And the teachers have to affirm this. Well, you know, someone got angry in Kansas, and they were trying to do the same thing in Kansas. You know what the politics in Kansas said? They said, if someone comes up in a furry outfit and claims to be an animal, we're going to call the parents and suspend the student. And if the parents don't show up within a certain amount of time, we're going to get the animal control out here, and they're going to take them away. That's actually like the rules. I believe it's in Kansas. I could be wrong. It's one of the American states. But like someone said, no, we're not going to have that. No, that is stupidity. Someone got mad enough. And my thing is, if every person who said, no, that's a bad idea, went to the school boards, not only would we have an overflowing room, because they make those rooms small for each county. Just think about it. If all the parents from Powell High School got together and went to the board meeting and said, no, I really don't like that you're teaching my kids that, then, well, first, you would have an overflowing auditorium. Because for every kid, there's, what, 2 parents, I imagine?
Usually.
Yeah, usually there's 2 parents for every kid. I mean, sometimes, you know, the parents get divorced and then remarried, so you might even get 4 parents for 1 kid. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the kids fill the auditorium. Now, you don't even need to be a parent to be at those meetings. You can just be in the area. If you live in the Powell community, you can just be in the area and go to those meetings.
Yeah, but what you have right now is a whole government level, from school boards all the way to the president of the states, that will even go to the lengths of taking your child away from you, which has been signed for some states, starting with, I think, California and one other, which was not expected. I don't remember which one it is.
Well, so you're wanting to do this thing where you're like, oh no, they're doing stuff. Yeah, but guess what? If we did stuff back, we could do more. Think about it like this. Biden right now is trying to appease a very small percentage of Americans. Let's put them over here. Let's say they're about that much. Do you think there's enough concerned parents to be equal to that small percentage of the population? Just to be equal.
There are many more. There are way more.
Okay, so way more. Do you think there's at least double, maybe more?
Much more.
Triple, quadruple, that much? Okay,
Yeah,
do you think this many people, percentagely, do you think this many people could drown out this many people?
Yeah.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's it.
Yeah,
if
but
we became the louder, squeakier wheel, they would forget about this group. They'd say, no, you go over there. We got to deal with this problem. But we're quiet. We're not angry.
My brother, it works in theory, but not in practice. because this is a worldwide agenda, and if one school manages to stop it, they're gonna pass some laws for the specific state, and then the school will have, like, there is this mentality of freedom because we're gonna vote for the right people, and the more of us that vote for the right people, the better we're gonna stop this. But then you reach a higher level, and they're doing exactly the same, and your representative ends up quitting because the agenda will proceed. I'm
But
not
that's my
saying
thing.
I'm not saying that's not the the theory. It is. You are correct, but
I'm
in
not talking about
practice,
theory. I'm just talking about common sense. If you were tired,
exactly.
if you were tired of corrupt politicians, and you would say that you're not corrupt, become a politician.
You'll die.
Okay. Who was it who said, "Give us freedom or give us death"?
Greeks. It's our flag and our motto. It
Well, then
says
there you go.
freedom or death.
It's been a worldwide thing of give us freedom or give us death. And a lot of worldwide things come from the Greeks. But here's the thing. I was just reading a sign earlier of one of Americans' first propaganda pieces. It had a snake, and it said, like, "Don't tread on us" or something. And it was talking about, like, it was talking about that "give us freedom or give us death" statement. And it was, we've had enough. And so I'm saying, if you're so worried about dying, well, there's millions of babies dying every day. Are we going to do something? Or are we going to talk about it? Because if we talk about it, we've lost. If we just talk about it. But if we stood up, and I'm not talking about voting, because we all know that system's rigged. At least the common theory out there is that it's rigged. What I'm saying is, if you don't like the current political standing, do something. Not talk about something. Not necessarily vote for something, even though that is pretty good. I mean, we might as well try. But do something. We outnumber them. Obama stuck his finger in the wind and looked at which way the wind was blowing and then preached a message based on that. Just look at Obama's speeches like 10 years ago. Look at what he said. Look at what he says now. He sticks his finger in the wind, he sees which way it's blowing, and he says a message. And I'm saying, okay, you take that, right? And you say, which way is the wind blowing? Well, you got a very small percentage blowing the wind. And you got a very big majority being very quiet and peaceable, because that's the type of people we are. Christians on a whole and conservative people on a whole tend to be very quiet people. And it takes us a long time to actually want to do something about it. And I'm not saying rebel, and I'm not saying start a war, and I'm not saying like you need to start killing people in the streets or bombing places. Like, no. But I'm saying do something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting.
Let's just stop that here about the anger part and proceed with the rest. You are right. This is where anger fits in, and going out of politics or
You put
uniting
us in politics. I'm just saying it.
or uniting it with religion. This is why we're getting mad. But the how to change it in the end times, there is nothing in the Bible that tells us that don't worry, if you all get together, if you vote for the right people, it's all gonna go like God planned it. No, that's not what the Bible says.
Well, in the end times, it will be the end times.
They are right now.
I will say this. And
They
I
are
know,
like
I know
Noah's
your,
times. Yeah.
I know your perception of the end times, and I know what you believe. And based off of what you've told me, I don't know how much we want to cover here, but we'll see what happens when we see what happens. But what I'm saying is, there were several groups of people who all thought they were in the end times. If they gave up, then the world would look very different. When Hitler raised the power, and we said,
That
the
is-
Holocaust is Jews.
that is correct, but it is a straw man, because those people that thought they were in the end times, they didn't go to shop, and they had every child before them shopping without carrying money and scanning their watch.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, each group said that. Every
No.
group says those things. Well, back in their day, they didn't have what we have now. And I'm saying, yes, it does possibly look, and I'm agreeing with you, it
Right.
does possibly look like we're in the end times. I'm not directly arguing with you. But what I am saying is there's a possibility that we're wrong. There's a possibility. And my point to make is they thought they were in the end times. Some people so much so that they sold everything they had and sat on the top of a hill waiting. And then it didn't happen. So my point is,
I'm not those people.
But but listen to me. But do something in the process. Because we're not done yet. We're still here. And we're here to fight. But so many Christians are so passive that we don't realize we're supposed to fight. Jesus fought.
Well,
Lovingly and Christianly love, but he fought. Anyway, that's all I have to say about anger.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say that he fought. He could come down from the cross. He could take over the world immediately. But God's plan has to do with us as well, not all those that lived until that time, but all those that would live after that time. So he endured. He endured
Jesus
something,
fought.
which would be humiliating. He endured.
Jesus fought to the spot where Jesus was supposed to fight to. If he jumped off the cross, he would have lost. And he knew
I'm
that.
sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? Come
If
again?
Jesus jumped off the cross, if the angels took him off the cross and revived him right there, he would have lost the fight. That's what I'm saying. Is
we
Jesus,
would have lost the fight. And
Jesus would have lost his agenda of the fight.
as
He
this,
wouldn't be dead himself, but he would have lost the fight, as in he's trying to win us. If he doesn't win us, he would have lost.
as this short that Awake has uploaded with that priest, the Catholic priest, that was saying that his way of fighting was the exact same way that a soldier will go out to war so you can have freedom. It is the fight of self-sacrifice. So that's how he fought.
Yeah. And my point is that if the soldier didn't run out, let's say the soldier lived, but you were then put in captivity, then you lose. Even though you're alive, you lose. And that's my point, is Jesus, being our soldier who had to run out and lose his life and lose his freedom to give it to us, that soldier still won. And so my point is, if Jesus jumped off the cross and zapped everybody there dead and showed his power and took over the world at that time, he would have lost. He would have lost his agenda, which is to save us. So I'm saying Jesus fought. Jesus was a fighter, but he knew what he was doing and he was strategic and he did what he needed to do to win.
Yep, agree.
So I'm saying, to follow in his footsteps, we need to fight. And a lot of us don't. Now, we all need to fight in our same way. Some people, our fight is just talking to our coworkers at work. And I'm saying that's an honorable fight. And for some of us, it's live streams. For some of us, it's churches. For some of us, it's politics. For some of us, it's getting mad in politics.
Well,
That's what I was talking
again, as I'm not one of those people that lived in the past and said, hey, you know what, I had a dream, we live in the end times. My perception has to do with appreciating the Bible as a divine book and actually studying it, and realizing that we will never know when the end times are unless we discover who the Antichrist is and if he is here and if the Bible is getting verified. Because that's Jesus said that nobody can predict the date and the day, not even the Son, only the Father. But when he said that, it had already been 2,000 years after Daniel. So Daniel gave us a time frame, and the time frame is that when the Antichrist appears, he's going to make a treaty with many, and in the midst of the treaty, there would be the abomination of desolation, and that's when we have 3.5 years, and we're going to have 3.5 more. So if somebody finds him and he looks into his actions, and he actually discovered that he made a treaty with many that included Israel, and then he started counting the months, and then exactly in 3.5 years later, the virus arrived. It's not out of a bad dream that he comes up with the fact that we are in the end times.
And I'm not arguing with you, but let's just say we are in the end times. Let's just say that we are in the tribulation. We can still
Then, what I want to suggest to my brother here and every other brother and sister that is listening, because I've done that in videos as well. It's not like I'm saying it now. I've been saying that for years now. If you believe you can change this, you are blaspheming.
I'm not saying we can change it, but I'm saying the battle is won with each person.
No, the
God
battle
knows
will be
who will be
won.
saved,
The
who won't
battle,
be saved.
the
But
battle
because
will.
you fight, you can win souls, and that can
Oh,
be
that
exactly what God said. And I'm
that I
not
will
saying,
agree with. That I
listen
will
to me,
agree with. I will
I'm
agree.
not saying you're going to change what the Bible says.
No, I agree with you. Fighting for souls, as you are doing here on this live stream, I agree 100%. I don't want you being fooled um, in the lie that you can change something by becoming more political and getting together with people and we can win by numbers. That is stealing from God's strength and putting it upon us, on our hands. It's his job. He's going to save us. He's going to stop this.
But God uses people, is what I'm saying. Now, it's not numbers all the time. There were some times when God did use a lot of people, but there are also times when he used very few. But God still uses people. And I don't know why he uses people, but he does. He picked King David, a little shepherd boy out in the middle of nowhere, to be a great, valiant king. And my point is, if David said, well, I can't change anything, then
I can bring other examples, though, even though that is the Old Testament and not the end times. I can bring other examples. He didn't tell Lot to start a party. He said, "Get your wife and get out of there, because you don't even look behind, because you don't want to know what I'm going to do to that place." That's what we're going through right now. It's all about fleeing. It's all about getting away. It's not up to us to stop this. It's up to him, and he will. Well, our job is to be fishers of men and fish out of this place as many as we can, because the
yes,
end is coming.
but it's also about saving lives.
Amen. Amen.
And the thing is,
But
saving a life.
You can't stop the agenda.
And I'm not saying I'm going to. God's going to do what God's going to do. God has it set up in a certain way. But I'm saying I don't pretend to know the day nor the hour.
Yeah, I don't pretend to know it either.
I'm saying I don't pretend to know if the rapture is going to happen in my lifetime or not. Now, you're telling me that it's very possible, and I'm like, okay. But I'm still going to go on as if it could be a long time. It could be tomorrow, and I'm going to be vigilant for if it does come tomorrow. But I'm also going to be vigilant in the event that it doesn't come tomorrow. And so I'm saying is, if I can stop one more person from being murdered, and they only get 8 years of life, and they're crappy 8 years because of, you know, God's wrath pouring out on the earth or whatever, but they can be saved because of that situation, then that's been worth it. If I can outlaw propaganda of homosexual stuff being taught in the schools, then those people might not be as messed up when they get out and they get into the real world, and they'll be able to receive the word of God maybe a little bit easier. And I don't know if that's going to get me banned or something. I maybe should have coded it a little bit better.
But that I agree with. I agree with.
And that's my point. Is I'm not going to
Yeah.
change God's agenda. I'm not going to change what's written in Revelation. But what I can change is people going to hell.
That I completely agree.
And for the time being,
I hope you understand where my disagreement lies.
well, you're saying that the end times are already upon us, and that I'm not going to be able to change the end time.
And not only that, it doesn't matter if it's close or if it's further away. What is it that matters is that there are some very strong people all over the world that have a very strong agenda, and we're dealing with Satan behind them, and the strength to fight Satan is only in Jesus' hands. It's not in our hands. In our hands is to care for people like their hello Logan. Here's an
But
example.
God uses us to fight Satan. He does.
Not to fight Satan, but to fight Satan in people and wake them up to the truth, soul by soul, and not to change the system. Like if you say
Also, nation by nation.
no, it can't, because right now
told-
I'll give you an
God told
example.
the Jews to beat the crap out of a lot of people. That's nation by nation.
I'll give you an example. Let's say my country right now revolts and goes against everything that is happening, right? My country, though, now is a part of the European Union, and the European Union is calling the shots. So if we revolt, we have to go all the way against the European Union. To bring it closer to you, an example, like if one state revolted, it would have to go against the laws of the whole federal system that unites all the states. So it's not easy. So it's not like people can actually change this. It is a facade that people can actually change it, because if we knew from the beginning that we are trapped, people would commit suicide. And the enemy doesn't want that always. He wants us thinking that it's my fault or your fault because you voted Biden, but I voted Trump. So for 4 years, it's your fault. Then for another 4 years, it's going to be my fault.
Well, I don't care about that, because, you know, Biden and Trump, they're both puppets in politics and stuff.
I agree.
And I mean, I'm going to vote and stuff, and I'm going to, you know, weigh in my side of, you know, which of the two people should be president and stuff, because I mean, it's part of my responsibility. But at the same time, I really don't know who I'm voting for. I got to be honest. I don't know 100% who I'm voting for, and I can't say that they're not doing something that I don't know about. But that's a different topic. What I'm saying, right, and I'm going to end it with this because I really have to go. I'm not even going to be able to get through the end of the list. What I'm saying, and as my final note, David changed nations. Christians, well, not Christians in this case, the Jews, God's chosen people, change nations. They did do stuff in politics. And for us to say, well, it's too late, it's not true. We don't know if it's too late or not, but we might as well try, because there have been several times where people have changed it just by standing up for what is right. And you know what? There is power in numbers. I don't really care what you say. There is power in numbers. Now, there's more power in God than numbers, but there is a sense of power in numbers. And we get the leaders we deserve, and we get the nation we deserve. And we did this to ourselves. We were too quiet. We didn't stand up. But if we did, and I mean, who knows? Tribulation might be off by a few dozen years. We could stop some of the pain and some of the torture that is currently happening to us by speaking
Brother,
up.
I just don't. Yeah, okay, we can agree to disagree. I just want you
It's
to
my
remember.
show. It's my show. You can talk on your show.
Okay.
This is
I
my
just
closing
want you.
statement. We
I
agree
just
to
want
disagree.
you to remember that you still live in a country where 70% think that we went on the moon, right?
I don't care.
Well,
This is
it
my
has
show,
to
and the
do.
moon doesn't matter. I'm gonna finish my statement, and then we gotta go. Okay? Okay?
Yeah, your show, baby. Hit
My
it.
show.
Don't
Okay.
don't make
As
him
I was
mad.
saying, Ryan, shut up. There you go. I'm hijacking my show. I'm gonna make my closing statement. We gotta go. I love you, Ryan. Don't get offended. These emotions right here, as you see, are useful. And anger is so strong that he had to warn us not to sin. But we can't refuse anger in getting people saved, in talking about controversial topics, politics, all of it. We stay quiet as a collective group of Christians. And that has been going on for too long. And I'm quite frankly angry that I have been way too quiet. And that we, as a collective group of Christians, have sat back and watched all of this. Whether it's politics or moral stuff, I don't care. All of it. And we watch people die on the sidelines, and we say, Lord, save us. And he's saying, I gave you a mouth. Your tongue is the most powerful weapon you have. I've given you prayer and reading the Bible and an ability to do things, and we don't. Most of us don't. And we got to change that. That's my closing statement. You guys, I'm sorry I had to meet you guys.
It's all right.
I have to go, though. If you want to leave your commentary, you can. You guys are able to end the show, right? Like if I leave, you guys can cut off the show?
No, you can end it.
Okay, well,
show. If
that's-
you leave, we're gonna change like the whole thing, turn it upside down, say that guy didn't know what he was talking about. So yeah. You
No.
can end
Okay,
it.
well,
I
then
gotta have
goodbye, Achilles.
goodbye,
He's going to come back
Jeremiah.
in 2 seconds.
I gotta have dinner with family anyway, so it worked out good.
Okay, I have to go to a Wednesday night church, and my wife is begging me for a caramel frappe, so I'm
Okay.
quite frankly drained for time.
It was a
So
great show,
All right.
my brother.
Great
show.
job, buddy.
hopefully next time we can talk about the rest of the emotions and their importance, because again, these are so powerful, and oftentimes we think controlling them is neglecting them, and we get those two confused. That's really it. The end button.
And
There.
that's very important.
Oh wait,